Have you ever felt that no matter what you do, it isn't good enough? Do you find faults, real or imagined, in the things that you do, even though people think what you did was fine? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you may be caught in the trap of perfectionism. Rather than seeing being a perfectionist as a virtue, in this video, you'll learn how self-limiting core beliefs are at the root of the problems about not feeling good about yourself. You'll also learn how you can shift your focus to focus on more positive aspirations so that you can improve the quality of your life. Now is always the time to start making positive changes in your life. Dr. Donna, Leigh, Bliss here. On this channel, I promote optimal mental health and well-being so that you can become the best version of yourself. Please help me to grow this channel by clicking on the subscribe button. So what is perfectionism? Well, it's a combination of very high unreasonable expectations and the demand that you meet them, and then judging whatever you do as not being good enough. So no matter how hard you try, you see whatever you accomplish as being less than some perfect ideal that you can't actually define. And the net result is that you feel worse and worse and worse about yourself. Now, in my 30 years of clinical practice as a social worker, I've worked with many clients that tell me they're a perfectionist. And so when I first start talking to them, I ask them to tell me, what is being perfect? How do they define that? And they almost always have this puzzled look on their face because they don't know how to define it. Sometimes they'll say, well, perfectionism is being perfect. And I'll ask them, well, what is being perfect? And they'll say, well, I don't know, not making mistakes. And I said, well, that means no human being could be perfect because we all make mistakes. And so what happens is people start to explore this, and as you might be thinking about it now, you find out that you're setting yourself up for never feeling good about what you do by holding yourself up to an ideal that you can't define and that even if you could, you can never attain. So what actually is perfectionism? Well, when you look at it, it's a belief that undermines anything that you do. It's a distorted judgment or perspective about yourself that basically sees the glass as not only being half empty, but the water inside the glass isn't very good to start with. So that distortion causes us to automatically react to anything we do by saying it's not perfect, even if we don't know what perfect is. But really what we're just doing is judging anything we do as not being good enough. And so it's a pervasive belief that whatever we do, it isn't good enough because it's coming from the belief that we're not good enough. And that's the problem with perfectionism, that you can't outperform it. No matter how hard you try, you can't escape the limitations of these beliefs of not being good enough. So you end up looking at whatever you do and projecting those beliefs on it, and you conclude they're not good enough. And even if other people think what you did was fine or really good, you really won't be able to see yourself clearly. So when you think about it, perfectionism is a really strong distortion of reality, where you're seeing things about yourself in a skewed negative way that you can never outperform. So you might be thinking, well, that sounds pretty discouraging. What do I do? How do I get rid of being a perfectionist? And the answer is, as long as you try to get rid of something that you find negative, you will only make your relationship with it stronger. So trying to outthink your way out of perfectionism or trying to perform something that is so good you'll feel good about yourself only strengthens the self-limiting core beliefs of not being good enough. So when I work with clients, I talk quite a bit about their beliefs about themselves. And we start looking at how these beliefs that oftentimes we learn growing up during our childhood, especially in dysfunctional and alcoholic families, where inside we developed the belief that we weren't good enough, that there was something about us that was deficient. We may have learned those beliefs from being criticized or maybe feeling overly responsible for the troubles our parents had and believing that somehow we could fix them only to realize that we couldn't. So rather than challenging or fighting beliefs about being perfect, what I work with my clients on is bypassing and neutralizing those beliefs and starting to develop new, accurate beliefs about yourself, and that involves embracing excellence. Now you might think of that and think, well, that sounds really good, but I don't think that's attainable. But my point of view is that excellence is aligned with the flow of life. When you were an infant, you didn't know that you were a person yet, but yet there was something inside of you that helped you to learn how to develop language. Quite an impressive feat. You learned how to stand up and eventually maintain your balance and take a few steps and then start to walk and then start to run and then start to learn how to ride a bicycle. And all that was unfolding inside of you. You didn't have any self-limiting beliefs that said, boy, I'm babbling so much I'll never learn how to talk. Or when you were learning how to walk and you fell over, you didn't have a self-limiting belief that was saying, gosh, I did a terrible job, I'll never learn how to walk. My goodness gracious, if we had those beliefs that we have today, we would never learn how to walk or talk or do much of anything. So excellence is what, as human beings, we are programmed to do. We are programmed to seek goals and find meaning and problem solve as we become the best version of ourselves. The problem is that when children get to a certain age and they have the ability to understand themselves a little bit, they become very susceptible to the feedback of adults in their life. And if you have adults that don't feel good about themselves, they're going to project their insecurities onto their kids. And so you can take a child that may be full of joy at having a crown in her hand, and she's just coloring on a coloring book, and she's just dazzled by the colors. And then you have somebody that comes along and criticizes it and said, but you didn't color inside the lines. Well, over time, she starts to learn these beliefs about herself that starts to diminish the joy, the excellence in her. And she starts to doubt herself more and more and more. So in embracing excellence, we're not judging ourselves. So the whole point is that whatever we do is good enough because it's where we are in our path of growth. And so let's say that you want to learn to play a musical instrument and you make lots of mistakes. Well, a self-limiting core belief would say, I'm stupid, I'm no good, I can't do that. And that would be a trap because the reality is, while you might not have the skills yet to play a musical instrument, that is something that you can learn, just like you learned how to talk and walk and color inside the lines and balance a two-reeler. So excellence is aspirational. It's encouraging us to be the best version of ourselves and to see mistakes as feedback that we can use to make corrections so we get better and better and better. So perfectionism is seeing the glass as being half empty. Embracing excellence is seeing that the glass is always full and there's always room for more and it's always good enough. So there's no ceiling. There's no height where we reach the end and we say, I can't get any better, because human beings are made to have unlimited potential. So one of the things you'll find is if you consciously start working at practicing, embracing a mindset of being, embracing excellence, even if you're not sure what that is, that slowly your thinking and these new beliefs will start to orient towards that. And you'll find yourself judging yourself negatively less and less and less. And you'll start seeing yourself much more positively and accurately, actually. And you'll be amazed at how effortless it is. But just like the belief of not being good enough, that took lots of time for you to learn, and you're not going to change it overnight. So I encourage you to start practicing embracing excellence. It will align you with the flow of life. It will help you feel much better about yourself. And you will start seeing that the quality of your life will get better and better and better. Thank you for watching this video. I've included some helpful resources in the description below. Please click on the subscribe button so that you can be notified when I release future videos that help promote optimal mental health. I've also included links for other videos I think you'll find helpful. Finally, remember, now is always the time to start making positive changes in your life. I'll see you next time.